Hello everyone, this is Axis 0096 with a question about everyone who knows a little bit about space and how it correlates to what may have really contributed to why the one-year war, even with the Federation, even began so much with the colonies. Now, as most fans know, in the universal century, a lot of people were either forced out from Earth, or a lot of people chose to leave Earth. I'll do a more in-depth video about that. In the case of Cluster 3, on the opposite side of the moon at Lagrange 3, the Republic of Munza, well, the cluster known as Munza, which would later become, well, number one, the Republic of Munza, number two, the Republic of Zeon, and then the Duchy of Zeon at the onset of the one-year war. People have to remember something very interesting about the one-year war, that colony, that I wonder if it is ever touched on in this time period. Number one, these are sealed cylinders, I take it. These colonies are very heavy. I think they're called Island 3 cylinders, meaning that there's no light on the inside. And number two, being somewhat of a space expert myself, this is just speculation, but if the colonies were relying on Federation trade or medicine, say a plague breaks out or something in these colonies, Colony Cluster 3, Cluster 3 on the opposite side of the moon would be quite a distance from the Earth. I mean, here, let's say here, my two fists, well, the left fist is the Earth, the other is the moon. These are not to scale, I'm just reference. But on the opposite side of this fist would be Munzo, and this would be the Earth. It's a rough thing, but if you scale down like a transport, it could take days, maybe weeks, depending on orbital trajectory. Even in the universal century, I think in Char's counterattack, later date, it took a matter of 20 hours for Amuro Ray to at least get to the moon at Anaheim Electronics to pick up New Gundam, and that was on a sled. And that's at high speed. So if that was the case, just imagine in the one-year war how long it took to get supplies, medicines, maybe trade, travel in between the colonies was probably long, arduous, possibly dangerous. A lot of the colony residents, especially from the furthest ones, probably thought they were pretty neglected by the Federation. It didn't help with the attitudes on Earth that the Federation thought that these people should feel lucky at their generous benefactors. And of course, these kind of anti-progressive notions hounding by the establishment on the Federation side, they push forth that people like Zeon Zoom Deikune would come up with their, peaceful coexistence thing. Of course, the Federation saw anything that would alter its perception of rule as, an attack on the state and the principle it was founded on. And thus, any obstruction had to be removed. This was kind of just a brief head-over. And, being an expert on some types of space travel, I've been interested in space since I was a little kid. I've always speculated, even with nuclear transportation, powering rockets, even transports, it would take days to get, say, from Luna 2 all the way to Side 3 just to deliver supplies of medicine, let alone troops. But that also came into play later in the one-year war for Zeon to surprise and ambush troops in the port. But that's all I have time for this video. And that is the end of this, which I could call prologue and speculation. This is Axis 0096 saying, who will survive?